I'm Mike.
I'm Ryan. Welcome to another episode of the Wandering Minds podcast, where we explore every nook and cranny of the human mind, always with an open, wandering mind. And our special guest today is OG Mike.
OG Mike. What's up, buddy?
Hello. It's a great afternoon.
Yeah. Okay. I forgot to do this.
This is crazy.
That's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
A little louder next time.
Yeah, I will. I'll remember that. My mic stand fell again. Anyways, Mike, thank you for coming. Let's start off with who you are as a person. I want to know, because I know that you've done a lot of traveling. I know that you've traveled internationally for work. Let's start with that. What type of work were you doing?
It's called, the title was Fire Safety Engineer.
Okay.
And the background was I was in the fire service for over 30 years, both in Alaska, Anchorage, and down here in Eugene, and then near Medford.
Okay.
Just came to a place I needed more of a challenge. I was looking for a different type of work and to move on, because I don't define myself as a firefighter. That's what I did. Mm-hmm. That isn't who I was.
Okay.
Or am. It's just a job. Mm-hmm. Okay. So this opportunity came up because I was looking, and it was international, and they said, we need a fire service person to do this type of work over here in the UAE, United Arab Emirates. For those that aren't familiar with that, that's where Dubai is located.
Okay.
I'd be stationed to work in Abu Dhabi, which is the capital of that country, which is really a unification of 7 countries, I believe, that happened back in the 70s. And they had a very insightful leader that brought all the tribe leaders together and said, let's unify. And it sits adjacent to Saudi Arabia. So again, for a point of reference.
Yeah.
It's a very westernized Muslim country. So to go there and do some due diligence to make sure it would be safe for myself and my wife, we found out how westernized it was, the influence that the U.S., Australia, the UK has on that country, and how much presence they have. And they also, the Navy, U.S. Navy, will go and refuel their ships there. So it felt fairly comfortable to at least go over and see what was going to happen.
Yeah.
So I ended up over there, and they said, what we'd like you to do is to be like a project manager, get a team of 10 people to work with you, and we have a fire problem in our country, and we want some of these things resolved.
So what was the language barrier like? Was there a language barrier issue?
Their business language is English.
Okay. So there was a smooth transition then, as far as that goes.
Fairly smooth. Yeah, I was comical to them when I tried to learn their language.
Gotcha.
It was a great experience. First time over was 4.5 months, because it requires any businesses that come in have to get a contract signed by the government. You have to be sponsored. There's a bunch of things that have to happen. The company that I was going to work for already had contracts, and they were in law enforcement teaching the UAE law enforcement in Abu Dhabi how to do different aspects of law enforcement. Yeah. So I was something new to add to their inventory of services, and that would be fire safety engineering.
Okay, so fire safety from what? Like oil fires or from like house fires? What type of fires are we talking about?
City.
Or is that confidential?
No, that's city, that's residential. So it'd be high rise, typical businesses.
Okay.
The oil platforms is totally different. That was a different company that dealt with all those things. So anything like in a city around here, or Portland, Seattle, that's what.
Okay. Did you have to
Did
you have to get anything up to code? Was that your responsibility? Is to get things
that
up
had
to
to be
code?
assessed.
Okay.
What is the condition of the city? Abu Dhabi is 1.5 million people, 2 million. So it was quite a leap, but it really wasn't as well. It was an interesting experience. You go and all these buildings are 30, 40, 50 stories high, 6 lanes of traffic going down through the center of town, one way. It just, and I told my wife, I said, when we go over, we leave all our Western culture, so to speak, ideologies, opinions, we leave them behind.
Yeah.
We're not going to our own country. We're going to somebody else's. So we're not going to change the world. We're going to go to observe, to learn, and see if we can have any impact and leave things better than when we got there.
That's a great way of looking at it.
Where are you from originally?
State of Washington, Tri-City areas, Pasco, Richland, Kennewick.
Yeah, I'm from Spokane.
Oh, that's too bad.
Actually, I would have rather go to the Spokane than Tri-Cities.
And then my dad migrated to Anchorage, Alaska. We followed thereafter at about 4th grade is what I was in. And then my mom came back to the Seattle area, and I went between the two up through high school, and then went back after high school back to Anchorage. And spent 20 years up there.
How'd you land in Oregon?
I was bored stiff of what I was doing and tired of shoveling snow. It gets to be a long winter.
In Alaska?
Yeah. And we said, we need a change. It's like you feel enclosed. There's one road out. There's one airline type destination, go to Seattle or anywhere else. And so it's just confining after a while.
Yeah.
And I felt I was doing my job blindfold. So I had no new challenges. I was in management. I said, I need to get back in the field. And an opportunity came up in Eugene, and I took it.
Are you retired now, or do you still work?
I am retired.
Okay.
You don't seem too confident in that.
Yeah, I was like,
What is retirement?
You're never
mean,
retired when you have a family.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But even though you're retired, you've picked up a skill, which is woodworking.
Yes.
Which he's good at.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen any of his stuff that he's...
No.
So you're building a cabinet right now, correct?
No, I'm building a humidor.
Yeah, he is building a humidor. This is a Cohiba, by the way. Yeah, he's building a humidor for me, actually.
no shit.
Yeah,
That's
from
awesome.
scratch. Just,
Yeah.
I mean, he's literally building that shit.
That's cool.
Well, total was about 6 years in the UAE, and I only planned to be there 3. I figured that would be enough time to impart skills, knowledge, and hopefully they'd have the incentive to move forward with those baseline things and progress and then improve on their own in those areas. And a lot of people that I worked with didn't have a lot of initiative. They would prefer what they called experts, and they brought experts from all over the world there because they didn't have them resident. When you're Bedouin or out in the sands and traveling across the sands, or you're doing marine fishing and that type of thing, you really don't have the baseline education established, and you don't have people that know how to build cities. And some people can go online and they would hear about Dubai and how it just developed overnight. That's because they brought people in. They had oil. Once they discovered oil,
They had money.
leadership said, let's improve our country and our people.
Yeah.
And they were very visionary. They said, we're going to start sending our kids out to get an education, and we're going to get to a place that we're going to be a modern country, self-supported, but they're still very dependent upon the experts.
Yeah.
Professionals in all kinds of fields.
Where do they send their kids out for school?
They go to
All
the
around the
U.S. Yeah, a lot of them didn't get to pick their major.
Yeah.
They were assigned majors,
Oh,
Damn.
and they would go to the UK. They would go to Australia. They'd go to Singapore. It was westernized education overall. It was interesting I had to teach 12 of them that came back from the UK that became engineers. And they wanted to show me their thesis. They're really proud of it. So I was giving them assignments. It was all geared towards fire safety engineering as it was applicable to their local areas and communities. I took the papers home, and what I had been doing would assigning them half paper, full paper assignments where they'd have to get on the internet, do research, and then bring back their documents. And then I'd take a look at them just to see what they'd find out, because I wanted them to understand how to do research, do due diligence, because there would be a lot of it they'd have to do to get up to a standard that would be acceptable in their field. So I take these theses, I take a look at the papers, and I would read what they would turn in, and I go, this cannot be the same author. There was such a disparity between what they turned in at the university and what they were turning in to me, and then a number of papers read identical between themselves.
Oh, shit.
I said, okay, this isn't how this can work. So the rumor was they would buy their papers wherever they were schooling. And that's what they would turn in. A lot of the schools would just see the UAE students as a windfall for tuition money. So they really didn't care
So they weren't schooling.
About the quality and making sure the documents, the work that was being done was legitimate.
Well, I feel like that's the kind of shit that happens if you assign someone a major rather than letting someone pursue something that they're actually passionate about and interested in. It's just like forcing you in a certain direction rather than exploring what excites you.
Yes.
Going through the motions.
There's a mistake in doing that.
Yeah.
But that's how some of these other countries work, right? I mean, even American, I see this all the time where parents are gearing their children towards, like, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer. I mean, it's...
Yeah, but how many of those people hit 35 and hate their life?
I know. I mean, look at our country right now. It's a perfect example of people just hating where they're at in life because they didn't really pursue what they wanted to.
Yeah, it was a paramilitary structure, so they were called colonels and generals, and there's majors. And so this one general where I first went there, I had to go to their HR, and they can get processed through the HR system, human resources. He was a major general. His degree was back here on the West Coast at a reputable engineering school. But he was the head of human resources. So even though they get the degrees, they wouldn't assign them as well to areas that were relevant to the degree they received, which was really strange.
Yeah. And it's like kind of set up for failure.
Yes. Yeah. So everything was, the intent was good, but carrying out what should have been done wasn't. So that's why I think there was a lot of gaps, and they're still working out. They're a relatively new country that are educating the younger generation, and I think things are improving because the young guys are coming in and they see some of the fallacies, the gaps of how things should be done and be run. And
when's the last time you were over in the Middle East?
that would have been probably 6 years ago.
Okay. And was that like a for fun visit, or was that still work related?
No, that was work related.
So you only recently retired?
Yes,
okay.
from doing. At that time, I was a consultant. Before I worked for the city of Eugene, the city of Anchorage, and when I was accepted to go, it was really a role as a consultant, which was nice because all you did was whatever they wanted you to. You didn't have to deal with people, management. You weren't responsible for anything. So it was a different role, but it was exciting. It was a great place for the experience. And I'd sit there and I'd go, gosh, I feel like the minority here. And I am.
Yeah.
We were such a small percentage of the overall population of the country. And when you interacted with people, in 97 countries were represented in the population.
Wow.
Because they brought everybody in. If they wanted maids to clean the house, everybody had maids. the service workers that would repair equipment and air conditioners and plumbing. It wasn't the Emiratis. They went and brought those people in from the Philippines, from India, from Afghanistan. Wow. So the labor force was not Emirati. They were brought in. They didn't want to do labor. They wanted management work.
Power move.
We're in control.
Yeah. This is our house.
So changing gears a little bit, how long have you been lifting now? Because how old are you now?
70.
70? Okay. And how long? I've just known you through our gym and everything, but did you lift like previously at any point in your life?
No.
No? So you've been at it like, what, 2 years?
I would say 1 year. Prior to that is really rehab work.
Yeah.
Devin discovered. I thought I was pretty much okay. I knew I had more weaknesses the more stuff he had us do.
Yeah.
Because originally we started going because of Linda, my wife, with her MS and some knee replacement issues and things that were just hampering her. And we heard about Devin Philippi from our neighbors down the street. And the story that came to us was, is it Jenny? They call her Jedi?
Yeah, Jen the Jedi.
Yeah. And he, Craig and Michelle gave us the background.
Is that who your neighbors are?
Yeah, down
that's awesome.
A few streets down, or a few houses down. Told us about Jenny and what her condition was, and then showed a short clip video of how she was doing cones. And so my wife was so impressed from where she started to coming to that point that she says, we need to go to that gym and talk to him. I think he can help me. So as I said, okay, fine, and I'll go and work out with you and just be a supporting partner, supporting husband. And the more I did, I'm going, what the heck is wrong with me? I knew there were some things wrong, some things that had been going on.
Well, we're talking physically, right?
Yes. Yeah, for now. And so she was just sold on what Devin could do. He sat us down. So doing powerlifting, doing anything like that wasn't in the cards for me. It wasn't even a goal. It wasn't an interest. I just wanted to get in a little better shape and then be there as a support. And then it changed the more we attended the gym and went only to visit one of the meets just as a gym member. And the energy, the camaraderie, the support that was demonstrated in the meet was just, it was catchy. And the interest was there, and I'm going, do you think, well, Linda wanted to do it, so she did the first meet a couple years ago. Or
about a year ago.
About a year ago, yeah. And I got to a point and I said, Devin, do you think I can do that, knowing what you know about my hip replacement and my spinal stenosis and the lumbarectomy that I had, lammectomy? Can we get there? He goes, yeah. I said, can I do all three? Raw 3 lifts? Yeah. But I knew, and I knew some of the lifts, especially the leg work, because of the impact that the stenosis had on me and nerve damage. They wouldn't be real competitive, but I knew it would give me a goal to strengthen those areas and improve quality of life.
Yeah.
So you can't feel your calves, right? Or can't flex.
They don't activate.
They don't activate.
I can't do toe raises.
Yeah.
Because everything's gone.
Is that from nerve damage, or did you have like a certain accident or something that happened?
No, well, 10 years ago, hip replacement, that was done twice because bone grew back. They weren't anticipating that because it doesn't happen usually. And it changed. They were like stops. The bone, I didn't know what it was. I just knew I couldn't get full range of motion after the surgery. I was over in the UAE doing the recovery stuff. I says, look, do twice in the gym a day where we live. There's a gym downstairs, and I'm there twice a day, and I'll do my rehab stuff there instead of PT. He says, okay, that's fine. You can leave early and do that because the surgery was done here at Slocum. but I couldn't get the range of motion. And no matter how hard I would try to stretch, nothing would improve. I said, something's wrong. So next time I went back, I'd made an appointment to go back to Slocum. I came back here because I usually came back once a year from the UAE. Took an x-ray. He says, oh, we have a problem. Bone where we put the new hip joint in your thigh, whatever it's called. Mine escapes me now.
Your femur?
Femur, thank you. Bone had grown on each side of the surgery point, and so it acted as stops when it tried to rotate into the hip joint. He says, we got to go back in, and we got to take all that bone out. He says, one's a golf ball size and one's a baseball size.
Jeez.
Going, oh, okay. So went through surgery again, but
Okay, Skeletor.
yeah. He says, in order for that not to happen again, we have to have spot radiation done because that tricks the bone DNA to thinking it's not bone at the time. And we do it an hour before surgery. So you go to the cancer treatment center, you'll go there and they will do the locates, they'll hit you with some radiation, and then we'll do the surgery and you should be fine. Okay.
Should be.
Yeah, so
Magic word.
yeah, and I had to wait 10 months from the first surgery because they say if you don't do that, the body still thinks there's trauma, scar tissue, and other things will occur that you don't want occurring because the trauma is too soon. So you have to go 10 months. So yeah, I had the first surgery 10 months later. Second one, he says, I think I nicked the ball on the hip replacement, so I gave you a new ball to go into your hip socket. So it was okay, fine. And then I spent a few weeks and then went back to the UAE, and everything has been fine from there.
Yeah.
So that was the hip, but the spinal stenosis I didn't know about. I was going to a different gym. I started out where I could run up to the mezzanine area where cardio equipment was, and I do 2 steps at a time with no problem. Within a couple months, I was having to use the handrails and do 1 step at a time to get up to the mezzanine. Mm-hmm. And the pain was unbelievable. I said, something's wrong. I'm just going to gut my way through this. I'll do more exercise, and this should get better. By then, the calves that I had, which were huge, atrophied to nothing. I didn't have any strength in my legs. I was losing the ability to go upstairs.
Damn.
I said, what is going on? I finally went to a neurologist, did the MRIs, and they said, you got spinal stenosis. I had numbness in the toes. Calves weren't activating. So I was a complete mess and didn't have a clue until I went there. And he says, we can fix it, but you don't have any space for the lateral nerves that come out and then go down your legs. That's all black, so there's nothing showing any space at all for expansion, movement. And then the spinal cord area is collapsing. The discs are shrinking, which they do with age anyway, but you've lost space in there as well. And so I figured, okay, that was probably my sciatica issue that was occurring when I used to run. So he says, yeah, I can fix it. Okay. So we went through that surgery. Mm. It's just something that comes with some people with maturity.
Because you've done not strongman, but what type of things? You showed me something in Alaska where they ran up the hill. What are those called?
It's called mountain marathons.
He's going to be doing racing. A marathon soon.
We'll start
but you
with
should do that.
First.
Yeah. It's called the Mount Seward Marathon.
Yeah.
And by picture, it looks like about a 45-degree angle going up the mountain. Jeez. And you're going from the city center of Seward, going up the mountain through the woods and trail, and it's a one-person trail. So when you get opportunities, you're trying to pass people. When you get to the top, you go around this huge rock, you come down a different trail that usually has a snow patch, and you slide. You have an option. You can go the easy trail down, or you can go down the snow patch, kind of like a turtle, on your butt, your heels, and your hands. So
Which one did you choose?
Oh, the snow slide. Well, you learn because you duct tape around the socks in the opening of your tennis shoes, because when you're going downhill, that's where the mountain is broken up into scree from shale, because it's all shale, and from
what is scree?
Scree is broken up shale, so it's like gravel,
rocks.
soft gravel.
Oh, okay.
So you tape around so that stuff doesn't get down into your shoes. You tape, or you wear extra clothes, or like, we wear the tight shorts underneath, underneath running shorts,
like compression shorts.
Because that time of year, it's 4th of July. It's ice crystals. It isn't like soft snow, because it's slowly melting. So it melts and it freezes at night, and so it's ice crystals, and it'll end up cutting you up if you're not careful.
Wow.
And then you use like weightlifting gloves, so you can put your hands down. So you've got, and you keep your butt off the snow, otherwise you're going to get like road rash.
On your ass? God,
Yeah, from the ice crystals.
Ouch.
Yeah. So you're doing your heels, you've got your hands down in the other grooves, and what's important is when you run out of snow is the timing of how to lift yourself up and start running down the mountain. So otherwise you end up in the scree face first and tumbling. Ooh. And that's where people have been airlifted out because of the cuts they get from the shale.
Dang.
There's no way to practice it. You just hope for the best.
Did you have success in that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
How many times did you do that? Did you do it a bunch of times?
Did it two times.
Okay. That's impressive.
And they limit how many people. So kids get to go half mountain. They never get up to the top. The women get their race, and then the men do their race. Because it's such a narrow trail, you can't have all the people. And then they have a cap on how many people can actually do the race. So if you look up Mount Seward Marathon, it'll have videos and it'll have pictures.
Because you can watch people essentially the whole distance. Now, I saw something on YouTube where a guy just like literally disappeared. Yep. Did you hear about that?
That wasn't too many years ago.
Yeah.
He disappeared on the way down. He made it up, but on the way down, he never ended up finishing the race.
And they couldn't find him.
And
you can essentially see 98% of it from a distance, right? You can literally watch people doing it, can't you?
Not if you're down below, because there's too much
at
stuff.
a distance, though,
at a
right?
distance, you could. Yes.
What's the theory?
You get like sunken under some ice or something?
Bear, eagle,
could have taken a
aliens.
different trail down. There's a couple of different trails that you can take down.
Yeah.
It would be easy to get lost on a trail and then fall off into a ravine because of drainage ravines. So they're not sure.
Wow.
I went and looked to see what the latest was, and I don't know if they even found skeletal remains yet.
Wow.
But it was quite a story.
Yeah.
But that isn't usually what usually happens. People just get cut up from the scree coming down, or they take a tumble on the way down. Going up, you're using hands while you're trying to crawl up because of the steepness. And your legs are trashed.
What can you, something that we've done, what can you relate that to? How difficult it is?
You could do, let's say, Mount Pisgah, and then increase the angle twice as much.
Really?
Yeah, you're like really climbing up that.
Yeah.
You're really climbing,
See, I'm getting more interested in stuff like this too. Like I love boxing and I love powerlifting and all the typical like the gym workouts that I've done for years and stuff. But like I signed up for my first Spartan race in September, and I like the obstacles. I like the challenge of going like long distances and stuff like that, and just stuff that kind of breaks you out of the norm and everything. Mm-hmm. This stuff's really interesting to me.
Yeah. Well, when we did that 5K together, I actually enjoyed it. Yeah, I mean, fun. I got into running for a while until my calves decided to say no. But it was fun. It actually got really, really fun. Like doing that, just the different stuff, like the stair challenge, the 5K, whatever. Yeah. Those things are interesting to me. I was thinking about doing the Spartan race, but I was like,
Well, what was
Hey, what do you have to lose though?
Yeah, exactly. I don't, nothing.
we had a mountain. There's a mountain in Anchorage called Flat Top. It is so unusual. It's like somebody took a knife and just cut the peak off of it, and it's totally flat. So it's a tourist attraction. They park down in a parking lot, and the tourists go up into the top, and you can take a picnic, and it's just flat.
Yeah.
This is the weirdest thing.
But it's like the width of a mountain?
Like a tree stump?
Yeah, it's a mountain.
See, I've seen stuff that says those are like ancient trees
tree stumps
and everything that have been cut
Yeah.
across. Because the earth, I mean, we don't know what it looked like
Yeah.
a long ass time ago. And that could have been like petrified wood, basically.
That's the theory. I mean, does it look like a tree stump around the sides?
It just the shape of the mountain, how it goes in and
Yeah,
out
yeah,
and
yeah,
like- yeah. Somebody just cut it, and it's
That's
really
crazy.
flat. And Solstice is really popular.
Yeah.
During that time, but my friend and I would train for the 4th of July during the winter time.
Okay.
So we dressed somewhat warm, and we could go on the backside of the mountain, which wasn't very well known, and that's where we would go up the mountain in the snow, since we knew we'd have to, and we knew it'd be difficult. And then we'd come across and then slide down, and we'd have ice picks to help slow us down on the way down and catch us. And,
Crazy. Yeah.
but that's the way Alaska seemed to be. It
Yeah.
seemed to have that mentality of
Yeah.
doing those things. There's some other races that were very popular, and you never knew if you'd run across a bear on the way or
Nice.
whatever.
Yeah. So powerlifting isn't really a big, like, out there thing for a person like you, because you like those type of challenges.
But it is relative to age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't do that other stuff.
Yeah.
But this is a new challenge. It's something that, I don't, stereotyping in my mind when I grew up, a 70-year-old person can barely get around. I saw my grandma.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw the old folks home. You go, I don't want to be one of those. So I don't feel that I look or feel like 70.
Honestly, when you told me your age, I was kind of, other than the silver top, you know what I mean? It didn't register to me that you were that mature. You know what I mean? Because I'm 46, and generally speaking, when I'm around the gym or whatever, I'm the old man in the group.
Yeah.
And I love you.
Well, my background has been athletic
Yeah.
to some. So Alaska, so downhill skiing, cross-country skiing. When I was 40, I was shanghaied into doing City League
Basketball?
Softball.
Oh, and not that they wouldn't allow me to do basketball because I played it like football. Because I wasn't any good.
Yeah.
Rugby.
Oh, rugby.
Yeah.
Shit.
And I loved it. because there
Dropping
was-
bodies.
Hell yeah.
Oh, no pads. It was honest hits, and you ran all the time. You didn't take a break and have a coffee and that thing, in the huddle.
Yes.
It was constant.
Yeah.
Which I really liked.
Nice.
And then run during lunch break. So sports, high school was football, track, wrestling. When I got kids, I thought, okay, martial arts, that'll be good for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so did a short stint in a kind of side thing called Tung Sodu.
Okay.
So I was always challenging myself
And
physically.
active. Yeah.
Yeah, very active.
So what's next for you? I mean, is there, other than powerlifting, because you're in powerlifting, you're literally training. Well, let's go back to when you started to compete, because Linda competed first. I remember that because I competed when she was competing, or I competed at the same meet as her. And I knew it's because you had just gotten done with another surgery, and that's why you couldn't compete.
That was the laminectomy.
Okay, the back
So,
back surgery. Okay.
L3 through 5. They take half the disc in 3, half the disc where it's the nodules in the back, the center, in 5, and they take the whole section out in 4 to make space for the spinal cord.
Yeah.
Then they go in and router the lateral chases out for the nerves so they have room. So that was done.
Because you were feeling a lot of nerve pain. I remember when I first met you, you had a lot of nerve issues.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And pain was gone instantly.
That's awesome.
Yeah. After the surgery, and I was skeptical. I thought, oh,
this is too
maybe
good
it's
to be
just
true.
the drugs. And so reserved on doing anything and doing any kind of, because you go, oh, if I'm doing squats, if I'm doing RDLs, if I'm doing that, what kind of strain is on the back? And I wanted to run, at least do something. And the neurologist says, yeah, my assistant was a little aggressive, telling you couldn't walk as far as you were walking. They wanted to limit even how far you walked. And I was doing way beyond that.
Yeah.
And he said, don't worry about it. We're in a city that is a city of runners, and I have actually found the runners that I have worked on recover faster and better than those that are not active.
Yeah. That
In
makes
their
sense.
initial recovery phase.
I
So-
think it's interesting how often they try to like limit like people like that are more mature. I'd say like 60 plus and everything as you start getting older and everything. But it's like, I think it's the opposite. That movement keeps you fluid and keeps you, you know, active and healthy and stuff like that. If you just sit there and do nothing, like you're going to shrivel up and get stiff and everything like that and be a lot more limited in everything.
The body in motion, right?
Yeah.
So some of the workout that I want is flexibility, is that fluidity in the joints. And why can't it be that way?
Yeah.
Like I've told Devin, I said, why can't I achieve 300 in my bench? You go, well, that's because of how old you are. I mean, that's what everybody thinks old people can't do anything and how much I've gained already.
Yeah.
I'm going, this is just a mental thing. Yeah, I've got testosterone levels are much lower in older people, so I have to work harder for muscle gain and retention. But I want the quality of life.
I think
But
if you
want
boosted it to a normal, not normal, because normal for you is where you're at.
Yeah.
But if you boosted just enough to get you just a little elevated for your age, not elevated testosterone, not like spiking, but
900.
yeah, nothing like that, but mid range, like a 500. You know, because you're probably where you probably sitting. Do you think?
I'm
Maybe
sitting
about 300, 200.
275. 'cause I had
275?
blood work recently.
Yeah.
And the doctor says, look, my assistant here he should be at 900.
Yeah.
You and I, we're going to be here in our 200s, and we're just fine. You
Yeah.
don't need anything. You're doing great the way you are.
Yeah.
I want to get mine checked just to know where I'm at as a man
I think
that's
all
approaching
dudes should.
30. Yeah.
Yep.
Because I did a short stint with testosterone therapy. And my wife said, you just don't have any energy. And I was attributing that.
While you were taking it or before?
This was a number of years ago, some years ago.
Prior.
Oh, so she said you had no energy
beforehand.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And she says it'll probably help. Because
Yeah.
I did some research on it. Yeah, you get increase of this, and this. But I was reading some of the side effects that could happen. And so I said, okay, I'll do it for you. We'll just see what happens. I didn't see my energy level change. I saw other physical changes that I said, I don't like this at all. And it was happening at the same time I was losing the strength, the atrophy in my calves, the pain, not being able to go up 2 steps at a time, up an easy set of stairs. I said, must be the testosterone. So I did research. Would it have that type of effect on my muscles? But why just the lower part of my body and not the upper part? So I was questioning that without having gone to any doctors. And I talked to the doctor that prescribed it in the first place. Oh, you just need more testosterone. So she
geez.
bumped it. And I said, oh, this is even worse. Man boobs. No, we're not going there. And then just changes to the skin. And I said, okay, we're done with this. I just said,
How much
enough.
were you taking? Do you know?
I think it was 1 cc,
1 cc a week?
something like
Probably. Okay.
They didn't give you any like estrogen blockers to go with it or anything to like inhibit that? Oh, that's probably not the best. I think that would go with it.
I mean, there are certain ways to do it, certain ways not to do
that.
it.
So anyway, I said, enough's enough. It took a long time for the body to resume back to where it was, but I still had the energy level that I had before that. The thing that I really didn't like is that what may happen is you shut down that
natural
function in your body that produces it. I said, I don't want my body shutting down in areas and be dependent upon self-injections the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. So having a 250, 270 level, and the urologist says, hey, you're where you should be, you're fine, you don't need anything. I'm going, good, my body's still producing some. So I felt I escaped that thing that I was told you could end up shutting that element down in your body.
Yeah. That's not to say you still won't reach your 300 because you pushed 280 off of one block the other day, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go, Mike.
Right? You're right. 280 pounds off of one block.
It was a squeaker.
It doesn't matter. It went from here to there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
When first went into Devin, he says, what are your guys' goals? So Linda would tell him, and I said, I want to bench 300. I said, this guy must be hindsight must be the most graceful man on the planet. He's probably going, yeah, whatever.
You're talking about Devin, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
I'll just kind of smile and nod my head and pretend I'm writing it down. But
almost
we're
there.
getting there.
So I got another question in a different realm of stuff. You said you're 70, so you're reborn in 52?
Is it still recording?
Yeah. 52.
52?
Yeah.
Okay. So you were alive during the Carter presidency and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vaguely remember I care less about politics back then, but yeah.
I'm just curious because people typically associate that as one of the worst economic times in our country, at least in like more recent history. And with the way inflation is and like gas prices and certain stuff like that now, how would you compare the two between the Carter presidency and the Biden presidency right now?
I couldn't. Because with Carter, I had no interest in politics. I just heard about the presidency and newspapers, but I had no interest.
Yeah.
My mind was more on what would please Mike and what can I do to have my fun and do my thing, so I was oblivious to those things.
Uh-huh.
So if when I was laid off, if it was during his presidency, I haven't a clue. I never looked at that. So I've never made those associations. I couldn't make the comparisons.
Gotcha.
It's interesting. It's interesting though, because I think where we're at with like the younger folks are probably right there right now. They're oblivious to just how bad things really are right now. And because they just don't care. They don't know, or they don't know that they need to care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I think you don't notice some of that stuff until you really start going out, like trying to more so make it on your own.
Yeah.
You know, when your parents don't pay for your gas anymore or your food or stuff like
That's
that.
it.
And you have to basically just like live on your own and everything. And you realize it's a lot tougher and like with the way prices are of everything. And I'm not here to like just bitch about the current state of the U.S. and everything, but it is interesting times.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and it would definitely make an interesting, like, how does it relate? But since you were younger and that in that mindset of not giving a fuck type of thing, it's like,
yeah, yeah, I had my days.
Yeah.
I was kicked out of my house, so it wasn't like I could live at home.
Mm-hmm. What age were you kicked out?
It was right after I graduated from high school.
So 17, 18.
It was 18.
Okay.
And parents, my mom and stepdad come says, your way of living is not conducive to our home and how we want to live.
Were you a party animal?
Yeah.
That's funny.
And come home late and...
Did you smoke the devil's lettuce?
Yeah.
Hey, have you ever done any psychedelics?
The closest I got to that was hash.
Okay.
That was laced with rat poison.
Oh, wow. Shit.
That was like probably a never do again kind of thing.
It was. It was.
Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
I said, I never want to do this again.
Wow.
This is a nightmare in itself. It was the weirdest
Why the fuck would anyone lay something with rat poison?
Because they didn't know what they were doing. They were, hey, rat poison, let's try it.
Enhance the experience.
So what was it like? What was the experience?
When I would just try and relax, all of a sudden the room would be spinning and it was full of pillows. I would be like I was laying on pillows, and whatever the thought was, I don't know. It was just and I couldn't close my eyes. I had to open and shake my head to make the room stop spinning. But I had this really I don't know how to explain it. It was like I wasn't in my body. I was watching myself and
out of body experience.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was like one of those feelings. I said, I never want to feel this way again. So I never did hash again. I never did anything.
Yeah, stay away from the rat poison. That's for sure.
It didn't stop me from some of the other stuff, but
Yeah.
I didn't get harder than that. I said,
Okay.
if this is an introduction to what it might be like for something harder, no,
Yeah.
I'm not going there.
Wow. Because we've talked about other psychedelics on the podcast a lot. I've never tried any. I definitely am not going to try no damn rat poison, but
I've never even heard of that.
Yeah. That's crazy. Well, that was probably what, the 60s, 70s?
That would have been 70.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's when I lost my job and didn't have a home, so I lived in my friend's parents opened up the garage and put a army cot down.
That's where
and
you
they'd
stayed.
let me go in and use the restroom and shower, and then I'd go look for work, and I got some chintzy, strange labor work at a hotel. Blew up the engine on the car.
Oh,
I said,
shit.
everything's narrowing down to just nothing.
Yeah.
Because you want to call that homeless, I guess, but yeah, I was appreciative of the garage.
Yeah.
You know, it was a place to sleep. And
When did you meet Linda?
that's when 71, because I moved back to Alaska, and
So you met her in Alaska?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
in the bank lobby in a pseudo blind date meeting.
Wow.
Neither
Interesting
one of
location.
us wanted to do a blind date.
Yeah.
So our friends, because at the time I was skydiving, and
Oh, cool. Nice.
he was engaged to his fiance worked at the bank, and I asked him, I says, does she know anybody in the bank that's available? Mm-hmm. And she did. It was Linda. And so I said, well, we can meet in the lobby and just kind of scope each other out.
Yeah.
And then decide from there whether I call or not call.
Yeah. You
And
call her.
there's no commitment.
This is my world, woman.
So they introduced us. It was like passing, in the night, and called her after that. And
The rest is
the rest
history,
is history, because we just did 50 years.
That is
wow.
adorable.
Yeah. Wait, when did you just do 50 years?
June 30.
What?
It's like a week ago.
Hell yeah.
Congrats.
Congratulations. 50 years. Raj and I are almost halfway there.
Yeah.
We're going on 24 this year. We thought we were 24 last
That's
year. But we were
gold
like,
and silver, right?
yeah.
Gold, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
My grandparents made that too. They made it to their 50s.
Nice.
and you say that to someone and they go, "Gosh, I'm not even that old."
Yeah. Yeah. He's not even this old.
Yeah,
So-
we say, yeah. Our oldest son, he's like 49.
Wow. Yeah.
He's legal.
Yeah. So how old your youngest?
I think 42.
Okay. So younger than me.
How many kids do you have?
3 boys.
Three boys. Gotcha.
So I'm old enough, young enough to be his son, but I just I see him more as a brother. You know what I mean, than a son. But I respect him like a mature person.
Yeah.
Mature person.
So
How would you say? Because I know you said you weren't paying attention towards the political scene and stuff like that, but I feel like. Granted, I was born in 95, so I haven't experienced some of those other decades and everything. But I feel like looking back at history, we see certain chunks of each thing throughout every decade. Like the 60s, you see a lot of the counterculture, everything. The 50s has the nuclear family and everything. And there's kind of the stereotypes that go along with each decade. How would you compare some of the stuff you grew up in as a teenager in your early 20s and everything to where the world is now? And especially being more towards a retirement age where you can kind of sit back and analyze things a little more.
okay, for back in the 60s, late 60s, and then the 70s, looking at NOM. So the draft was in place. fine. I want to be there with my friends. It wasn't so much did I believe it in or not. It just seemed like that seems to be the thing I need to do and be a part of.
So you were in the military?
No, they wouldn't accept me.
Why not?
They called me a 4-H because I had half my ear removed inside because infection set in from swimming at some point when I was a kid. And so the infection had slowly turned into some type of a fungus that was eating the bone in my skull and around the ear area.
Damn.
And so they had to take it out, the inner ear. They said, we don't know if you're here after this. This is when I was in 7th grade.
Damn.
Man.
And so they said, you might be deaf, you might not. We'll find out when we put it all back together.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. You'll pay for it.
So probably 50% hearing in the left ear from that point on. No big deal. So the draft was in, submitted everything, and they go, no, we don't want you because of your impairment of hearing. Okay. So I didn't get to experience that, but my friends went, and I just didn't like how some of them were coming back after that and how war effects or whatever. They didn't want to talk about it. There wasn't really the PTSD
Diagnosis.
Yes, at the time. So that was happening. And then at the same time, Berkeley and having the hippie culture, the new music, the concerts, that was another way to cope with things and doing that, and then not having much of a job. Shortly after that, then I moved to Alaska, and so the whole focus then became totally different because I got on with the fire service. That opened up for me. So there wasn't really the politics again. It was just living day to day. Then I find my wife, and we eventually get married, and then start a family. And so that was the whole focus, and making sure I always stayed employed and usually worked 2 jobs because I figured she wanted to stay home with the kids, and we made a conscious decision that's how it would be so that the kids would have her to come home to. Well, what does that mean? We're going to do with less. We'll figure out how to make it work. I'll have the job at the fire department. That was a great gig because I only worked 10 days a month. That was one of those, you're 24 on, 24 off, so forth, and then you get a 4-day off thing. That opened the doors for a second job. So where I got the work ethic, I assumed my dad, because he was a workaholic, I said, that's what I do. I support my family. If it takes 2 jobs, it takes 3 jobs, that's my responsibility. So I guess I come from a background that I've seen how newer or younger generations observe what work means to them is totally different. How they approach it, their loyalty to their employer, their willingness to work multiple jobs to achieve what they need to achieve versus, I deserve it.
Yeah.
So there just changes have occurred over the years, and observing them, I still scratch my head trying to go, if you want it, then go out and get another job.
This sense of entitlement, right?
Yeah. Don't go to GoFundMe.
Yeah.
Type thing. So I go, you get what you pay for. So if you don't want to invest in that, if that isn't where your importance is, it's somewhere else, then I respect that as well. You have a different value system that would be different than mine. It doesn't mean it's wrong. That's just what it is for where you are at this point in time in your life.
Yeah.
So you would say work ethic, I guess, is a simplified version of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hear now from people that I talk to that manage places, they're just frustrated trying to find people that want to work.
Yeah. It's
Or
crazy. I
that
mean,
stick around.
even a lot of like what we would call like low end jobs, but are like fast food places. I see hiring signs in a ton of them every time. Like I pass a Taco Bell, a KFC, a McDonald's. Like almost all of them are hiring,
And they're hiring for a lot of money too.
See, my first job was I think 11 or 11.50 an hour, maybe even 10, something like that. But I was stoked on it because I was 16 pulling like auto parts, and that money was for like food when I go with my friends, and
Yep.
then like if we could get beer somehow.
Yeah, entertainment. Entertainment fun. Yeah.
So it's like to go and make, and granted, stuff is more expensive now too, so you got that trade off with it. But it's like, I don't know. I'm only 27, and I feel like I noticed some of those differences between a younger generation,
Yeah.
like mine and the one right below me.
Yeah.
Well, when my parents split, my dad was in Alaska, so in the summers I'd go up there. And I was bored stiff because he was at work all the time. So either I'd be taking a mirror and reflecting the
Catching
mirror
shit
in
on
other
fire.
people's homes, and I'd watch them trying to figure out where's this light coming from and entertain myself. So I'm 13, and there's a baseball field down below in the valley, and I went down there looking for foul balls that went into the brush and stuff, and I had drawers full of baseballs. And I said, can I help? Can I do anything, any kind of work? So for $1 a day, I was working at the baseball field, cleaning up under the bleachers, all the garbage and stuff, because the old guys didn't want to do that. They didn't know the junk work. But that was $1 a day, and I was happy. I said, I get to do something. And then I lied about when I came back to Seattle area, I lied about my age so I could work at McDonald's and turn fries, and I was 15.
Yeah.
And I'd walk several miles just twice a day
Uphill,
because they split your shift. Yeah. And it wasn't frozen fries. You peeled them and
Oh, wow.
cut them, and then you blanched them and you fried it. You washed them, blanched them, and fried them. So it was totally different.
Yeah.
But I wanted something to do. I needed the money. My mom didn't have it. She was a single mom working at nights. And
See, I think, and that's where we have commonality, because I started working at 13 as well. I mean, for me, it was to make extra money under the table, because nobody's going to hire a 13-year-old necessarily.
Yeah.
No taxes.
I think, yeah. Well, and I think, I don't even know when the age thing come in, but it's like at least 15 or 16, right? Where
It's 16.
16? Okay. So I started working at a very young age because that's just what you had to fucking do to make money. If you want to make extra money, you worked. And I think this generation, and it's hard to say generation because that sounds like it's a big gap of time, but it's like where we're at right now with the, say, 23s and down, 25s and down. It's like they all expect just handouts and
Right there on the brink.
But you know what I mean? It's like that's where that sense of entitlement. I don't know where the shift changed though. I think it was with parenting from my day, got sick of something and wanted to change everything around. So now they just do all these handouts to kids that I'm giving you what I didn't have rather than you earn to get type of thing.
well, like our kids, we sent them to private school. Mm-hmm. And that was a sacrifice. So that kept
Pretty
me in a
bougie.
second job. But that was, again, a choice we made.
Yeah.
But when it came time for, let's go get school clothes, they wanted
Yeah.
designer stuff. We said, look, our budget says you get jeans.
Mm-hmm.
If you want designer stuff, then get a paper route. We'll take you, but you're going to do the paper route. You're going to collect the money, and then you can supplement. We'll give you what the jeans cost if you want something higher end or whatever it is you're looking for.
There you go.
You get that.
Yeah.
But you're going to.
But they earned it.
Yes, you're going to appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because you have stake in it.
Yeah.
And that's how we raised them. If
That's
you
good
want to quit
parenting.
your job, you don't get this.
Yeah.
Okay, that's just the way it works.
Well, and that's like with Aaliyah. She got, as soon as she got a car and age, she got a job. Mm-hmm. She got a job because she knows how hard Raj and I have worked. Everything we have, we worked for. We didn't get handouts. We worked for everything you see. We earned this shit, and they know that. And Aaliyah, she was, boom. She was right to work as soon as she could. Because she knew that if she wanted something, she's going to earn that shit.
Izzy, your time is coming.
She already knows. She knows.
All three of our boys went through that discipline.
Mm-hmm.
But as they got out on their own, something changed. Something influenced them to where they wouldn't even give notice to the employer and say, I quit. What are you quitting for? And they were on their own.
Yeah.
I was curious. Because this wasn't right or that wasn't right. And,
Yeah.
You know, I went through a lot of bad managers, bad bosses, unlikable circumstances of where I had to work and what I had to do, but I stuck with it because that's how I was taught. That's what I learned from my dad. That's what I thought was the right thing to do. You give them 2 weeks notice if you don't like it, but they just quit on the spot.
Yeah.
Well, you have something to fall back on? No.
Yeah. And we're talking about your children being in my age bracket. So I'm just trying to relate that to people.
So there was a change, and that was kind of generational. Linda and I would go, where did they get that approach to
the 80s
work in, was it school? Because after a while, okay, let's get them back in public school or put them in public school so they get that socialization and other things. And whether that influenced, I've really never asked them.
But there was something. There literally was a shift.
Yeah. It was interesting to watch, but it was frustrating because we thought, don't you even give the employer the respect of going, look at 2 weeks notice?
Yeah.
This is why. Maybe you can talk to him about it. But no, just quit on the spot.
I'm trying to play devil's advocate here too. I think sometimes I've worked for like some asshole managers, like when I was younger in college and stuff like that, doing certain jobs. And if it gets to a point where, and I've always put my 2 weeks in if I've like quit a job or something like that, because I feel like that's just, like you said, what you do. But if it gets to a point where you've been disrespected for months on end and they treat you like shit and they can just roll you over to another person, because like working at like I worked at a Jimmy John's, you worked at McDonald's, fast food stuff, they'll roll you over to the next 17, 18-year-old that comes
You're
in
expendable.
there. Yeah, but you're still a human being and you still want decency and respect and stuff like that. So if you've been walked over, just treated like shit for months on end, finally when you reach your breaking point, especially being emotional creatures, we're like, okay, I'm out.
Yeah.
So it's like, fuck your 2 weeks.
But see, but I think that's the shift that we're talking about. There's a sense of not caring anymore. Yeah. Not giving a shit about like the idea of respecting authority type of thing. It, kind of, right? I mean, because they just quit.
Define authority, because like if the government comes trying to take your guns away. No, shit,
and I get that. And,
they have a problem.
I think that's kind of this mental shift happened where people decided, you know what, you're not going to tell me anymore type of thing.
Yeah.
Another shift, cultural change.
Mm-hmm.
When I went in the fire service, women were not a part of the fire service.
Mm-hmm.
There were some that wanted to break that ceiling and enter in. And so many of us were going, what? Why? And we doubted their ability to be able to perform that job. We knew what it took.
Yep.
We knew the dangers. We knew if we were having a problem and somebody had to get us out, we needed to trust those that we worked with that had the strength and the ability to drag us out to safety again. And those are some of those things. But as time went, I began to see the legitimacy of some of these women that wanted to come in, and they performed. They had to work extra hard to prove themselves. But there was always this group of guys that never accepted them.
Mm-hmm.
I said, if you can do the job, that's fine. I don't want to have to worry about us going together into a burning building and some of the issues that you might be confronted with, and then have to depend on you to get me out if I know you can.
Yeah.
And the training pretty much substantiated their ability to do those things. Yeah. A lot of them had great leg strength.
Yeah.
Upper body had to be worked on.
Yeah.
But technique was one of the things. And they would do schooling ahead of the application process for anybody, male or female, but it was really geared to help the female know how to pass the test using technique and leverage the weight that they would have to deal with in the testing process.
Yeah.
And then they would gain that much more if they were hired.
Yeah.
So we saw a transition in our particular field of work of women being introduced,
so
and
feminism.
How difficult it was for some people accepting that.
Yeah. Well, and it's still like that today. I think that is applicable today because Roz just had to climb the ladder of success, but she's always had to deal with a male authority or somebody in her way, so to speak. Not necessarily in her way because she's climbed her way, the hard way. But I think that women succeeding have that extra challenge, which is really unfortunate. It's horrible. But do you think that shift right there is different than the shift right now, where it seems like we're hiring people just because of a gender or a race or something like that, rather than like, okay, they're actually qualified for this? Do you see that?
Oh, there were already programs in place that gave preference to minorities and women to be
Based
hired
on that
before.
alone.
And when I was in a position to hire people, I said, I don't care about those. You guys deal with that. I'm looking for skill. I'm looking for fit, experience.
Yeah. Qualifications.
And so I had a very diverse group of people that worked for me.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at the individual and can they do the job? I don't need a nursemaid. I don't need to have to deal with somebody that is given the job and may not work out. If I was forced to, then I'm forced to, and I'll deal with it. There was a number of people I fired, including minorities, because they didn't work.
Yeah.
Instead of shipping them off to a different manager or a different department. No, that's my responsibility. I'll help you get there if you want to get there, but you're going to have to work at the level that's acceptable for everybody.
Yeah.
But not every manager was like that. They'd
Yeah.
soon ship them off, and they were always in the system, but they never contributed.
Yeah. Because they weren't
They
qualified.
contributed the
Yeah.
paycheck, but they didn't contribute to the organization.
Regardless of color,
That's right.
sex, what, it doesn't matter.
No, it didn't matter to
Yeah.
me.
Which is good. I think that standard should be. I mean, that should be the standard.
But majority of it isn't
I
that.
think that's like common logic.
It should be.
Yeah, it's like if you're qualified, you get the job. I don't give a shit what color
Yeah.
your skin is or your gender or anything like that. It's
Yeah.
like if you're qualified, you can get hired for it. But
Yeah.
people are so sensitive now too that it's like,
Yep.
oh, you don't have like a Native American person or an Asian
Yep.
person in this department. It's like, I didn't have an applicant that was qualified for it.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go out and fucking search
Yes.
for that to
Yeah.
try and fill in a gap that doesn't need to be there.
Well, we had a guy on who is in real estate. You guys know him. He said that at one of his training programs, the marketing aspect of it, they strongly encouraged to put people of color or different genders on their flyers, regardless of if these people are part of whatever you're doing. But it was a marketing thing. Okay, let's put a colored person on. Let's put a female. Let's put a male. Let's put a gay person. Let's whatever it is. This was their marketing.
I can think back to even like the textbooks I had in like high school and middle school and everything too. But like you're turning through, like in math books, there's always like a random picture, and there's like an Asian kid in a wheelchair, a black female, like there's a little bit of like everything, like that. But honestly, like a lot of that depends on where you live too. Like we're in Springfield, Oregon, pretty damn white.
Yeah.
And like if you go to Detroit or something like that, pretty heavy black population.
Yeah.
When I went to New Orleans, I'm growing up in Pacific Northwest, I've always been in predominantly white areas.
Yeah.
When I went to New Orleans, that was the first time I felt like a minority. I was like, damn, this is like mostly black people here.
Yeah.
But it's like it's a good perspective shift to have and everything like that. But
Well, you don't want to exclude people, but
the forcing of those things to happen is where I think it starts to get kind of negative.
well, not only is it negative, it's fake.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
fake. You're pity. It's this pity party that we're.
Well, you're people pleasing because you're worried about stepping on people's toes and shit like that,
yeah.
and then you get the overly sensitive like political climate we have now.
I always look at the individuals. I go, do you want to take pride in what you accomplished?
Yeah.
You got the job or not? Did you give it your best? Are you looking to excel? And are you, when you walk away, even from your job at the end of the day, do you feel good about it?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you expect one of those trophies to say you participated?
Yeah.
Hell no participation. Hell no. When I have
That's the
kids, I will
era.
throw
That's
those
the
in the
era
trash.
we're in right now. Is the participation trophy. That's kind of the generation we're in right now.
Yeah.
I can remember being a kid and getting one of those at a baseball thing and being like, "What the fuck is this? Like, I don't want this."
Seriously, don't put that on the shelf.
Yeah.
Well,
Do you have any final thoughts? I know we kind of jumped from but
No, just time is accelerating. Changes are accelerating.
yeah,
And it's interesting to watch.
yeah,
So we try and keep an open mind and then figure out what we're going to do tomorrow. But yeah, it's unbelievable to see what's going on.
yeah.
one closing one then from 70 or from 20 to 70 and 50 years of your life too. What's the best piece of life advice you could give out to anybody really, but especially like a younger generation as they move forward in life?
Don't expect handouts. Work and take pride in the work that you do and seek to excel and contribute every day.
Nice.
You know.
Nice.
Yeah.
OG Mike.
Be a contributor.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome. All right. It's been fun.